Thank you for meeting with me. Can you say your name and talk about what you do for work?
So my name is Justin Huntley. I am a project manager for Simplicity Homes. My day-to-day varies depending on what day of the week we're at. I live in Medford and I work in Bandon. It's approximately a 3-hour drive for me one way. So I pick and choose the days that I actually go to the coast in order to look at all my jobs. So a typical day, if I go to the coast, I am awake at 4 a.m. I leave my house by 4:30, and I will go to all of my job sites and look at them, make sure that they're clean. The last sub was in, did their job correctly, make sure that everything's ready for the next sub to come in. If there's something that got missed or something that needs to happen, I will call the subs while I'm on site and make sure that they're in process of coming in the next couple days. The way it works for our company is we have a system that I, as the project manager, can operate, and all of our subcontractors have access to the calendar for that specific job. So when they get assigned a job, it comes up on their calendar and it says, hey, you have a job coming up in 2 weeks at this address. It gives them their scope of what they're doing. They're able to download the site plans or whatever piece of the puzzle they're putting together. They're able to see all that paperwork on the website. That website is our schedule that we start from day one and it goes till the last day of the job.
How did you get into the profession?
Sure. So I started out very young in the workforce. I was 16 when I started in the workforce. Worked through a lot of odd jobs. Started off as a mechanic. I worked on RVs for a few years. I worked in a paint shop for RVs. Moving on from there, when I was 19, I worked for a volunteer fire department. I had always wanted to get into firefighting. So I started as a volunteer. I didn't have another job at the time, but we got paid, I think, $6 a call. So I lived there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for about 4 years. During that process, I had a lot of extra training. I had swift water rescue. I had high and low angle rope rescue, boat operator. I was an engineer. So I had a lot of certifications that I got through that. They also helped me go through RCC in order to get my EMT intermediate. I started off as a basic first and then went into intermediate after that. After I got my basic, I got a job. I applied for the U.S. Coast Guard right before I got my job. And the day that the recruiter called me to set up transport down for MEPS evaluations, I got a phone call saying that I got the job at Mercy Flights. So I canceled with the recruiter and went into work at the ambulance company. I worked there for about 5 years. It was a very low paying job, not highly rewarding. And so I moved on to working in the hospital after that. Worked in the hospital for about a year. During that year, I worked as a laborer for a plumbing company. After that, it was towards that winter, I got asked if I wanted to come to work for the plumbing company full time. I was able to get into the apprenticeship. I have my journeyman plumber's license now. After about 7 years being there, being really hard on my body, I needed to find a change. And so I became a project manager for Simplicity Homes.
Can you describe your own career journey?
I've had probably 4 different careers in my life. Starting out as an auto mechanic, I enjoyed auto mechanics when I was in high school. I thought that that was going to be my go-to end all. I found out I wasn't very good at it, and I lost that job. I moved into, fire department and emergency medical. That was a different career. Being able to change that career path is not always an easy thing, but you have to be able to recognize when it's time to make that change. Some of my changes were made because they weren't good on my marriage. Some of my changes were made because it wasn't good for my body. Some of my changes were made because I was a stupid young kid and didn't know any better. So make sure that you're watching out for yourself, your family, and those who surround you.
What was your upbringing like?
Sure. So my parents moved when I was in the middle of my 5th grade year, I believe it was. So just before going into middle school, it really hurt because I had been, 6 years with the same group of kids in the same school. And then I pretty much got taken and placed on the other side of the valley. So it was a very hard transition for me. Looking back, I think that that's about the time that I really just shut down and stopped really caring about what I learned in school and what I wanted to do. Going through into junior high, for us, that was 7th and 8th grade. I went to school 7th grade, and my parents pulled me out in 8th grade because I was pretty much failing. So they wanted to try and homeschool me for a year. My parents thought it was a great idea. I think they learned very quickly it wasn't. I found the teacher's study guide and worked through it on my own and had my homework done in an hour, and just kind of played the rest of the day. Went out on motorcycles and just played outside. That also really hurt me looking back because I didn't push myself to learn anything those couple years. Going into high school, my freshman year of high school, the junior high burned down like 3 weeks before high school started. And so they changed our schedule. So I actually had to be at school at 5 a.m. So the bus came and picked us up at like 3:45 in the morning, which for high school kids, I'm sure you're just laughing right now, because what high school kid gets up at 3 a.m.? High school freshman year, it was very touch and go. Everybody was very tired. Everybody was just kind of wore out from that year. That was also the year of 9/11. We had, there was a lot of emotional stuff that happened in that freshman year. Going into sophomore year, we kind of went back to a regular schedule, and I just didn't apply myself. I was the outcast. I didn't have a huge friend group. I wanted to just have fun, not really pay attention. I failed out my first semester of sophomore year. Got sent to an alternative learning school, really just didn't care. And so I ended up just leaving. I was 16 at that point. And so I moved out. I went and found a job, and then slowly started working on my GED. Throughout the years, the next couple years, working and living on my own, swore I'd never go back to college. Never wanted to improve my education at all. With that being said, I went back to school. I have almost 5 years of college now, through different career paths that I've done. I'm really glad that I've done those now. I look back on my high school career and just think how much easier it would have been if I would have just stayed. How much easier it would have been if I would have just put a little more effort into being in high school and taking care of the job that was granted to me at that time, instead of actually going out and having to have a job in order to live.
What advice would you give for students who are unsure about college versus career?
You don't have to be the societal norm. You can make your own path. It doesn't always mean that you're going to have it all figured out. If high school's not for you, then, find something that you feel as if right now you want to do. Like I've said a couple times, I've gone through many career paths, some of which I loved and some of which I hated. I've been able to, from 16 to 35, gain knowledge enough to be in a fairly successful position as a project manager for a large home building company. It's not where I saw myself 5 years ago. I don't know if it's where I see myself in another 5 years. I don't choose a career to say that that's going to be the end all. I choose a career because of my health, my family, and what I need. So if high school isn't for you, find that thing that is for you. If that's to be a college professor, then you need to stay in high school. They're not gonna look at a GED as a college professor as easily as they will for a project manager, or a plumber, electrician. The trades, as I see them right now, are very lacking. Nobody wants to do those jobs. We need to be able to have people in the workforce, whether it be, people that are mowing lawns all the way up to painters.
People that are mowing lawns.
People that are mowing lawns all the way up to painters. Every job in our whole nation is important. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Do something that's going to make you happy. Choose something that sounds fun or interesting to you. If it's a job opportunity that you could possibly shadow in, talk to somebody in that trade or profession in order to shadow. I got to shadow a cardiologist for 3 days, and it was one of the coolest 3 days of my life. I got to go into open heart surgeries and different things like that. So find something that you may be interested in. Find somebody in that field if you know of somebody. If you don't, then reach out to different people. If it's a doctor or a dentist, call them and say, this is a career field that I'm interested in entering. Is there a way that I can shadow you for a day? Shadowing is a great way to gain experience, a great way to gain knowledge. Not everybody does it. So you have to be able to accept the answer no, if that's what you're given. But don't stop there. Don't just give up on your hopes, or you go spend a bunch of time doing that and then find out it's not really something that I really wanted to do before you're even done with schooling. Try it out. Try to find somebody to give you a good breakdown of what that would be, even if it's just sitting and talking to somebody across the table.